Hello, welcome to Undisputed Boxing. We're back to talk boxing news, fights that have been agreed and set, and rumored fights as well. And one thing totally forgot to pick Rick up on this was Khan and Brook could finally happen in 2021. What do you make of that, Rick?
I don't know, if we had like a 10 every time we spoke about this, we wouldn't be making boxing videos. We'd be on some holiday island rich, because it seems to keep coming around. I don't know. I doubt it. Like, why now all of a sudden? Khan's not fought for ages. They'll both want a kind of a tune up before they go again. Something will go wrong there. COVID, too many barriers.
You don't think it'll happen?
I think it's just Khan. Well, you can never rule it out. It's just there's just too many barriers with everything going on. They want to do it in either the UK or the Middle East. They'll want tune-up fights beforehand. There's all the negotiation. There's COVID. There's too many barriers, I think, for me to kind of get excited about it. Khan might fancy a bit more because of what's just recently happened. I think there'll be arguments over weight. I think Brook at 154 takes that punch off Crawford. And I think he knows it, and I don't think he'll want to fight at 147. No. He may risk it for Khan, but I don't know. Just too many things. We've not heard from Brook either through all this. I was actually surprised we've not heard it. I've retired, and then you'll just get Khan saying, "Oh, I wonder if Khan's got that in just because he's heard that Brook's going to retire, and he can get that dig in going, oh well, you bottled it. You didn't fight me. You retired.
Yeah. I think you're probably right. If you just we can move swiftly on in a minute, but just say for argument's sake, I think a lot depends at what weight they fight each other. But let's say they fight at a catch weight, say 152. Who would you be picking?
Still Brook.
Really? I think Khan now. I've said Brook for a long time, but I actually think Khan would potentially beat him now. I think Kell Brook just is a shot. Seeing how he kind of folded against Crawford, I think he's a spent force now, unfortunately. And I've been I am a huge Brook fan, but
yeah. My reasons for it are, one, I think he's weight drained, and so if it is a 152, I think that really, really helps. Khan does not hit anywhere near as hard as Crawford. I didn't think Brook was that bad in terms of his reflexes. Therefore, I think Khan's going to go through 12 rounds without getting really hit. I don't think that'd happen.
Yeah.
Basically, my logic to it, I think if I was a bigger hitter, I'd be like, yeah, but I just think he won't over damage Brook, especially at a higher weight, and he'll get caught.
Yeah, okay. We'll move swiftly on from Khan Brook. Let's see if it happens. Another fight that has been rumored is Triple G versus Jaime Munguia, which is a fight I'd be really excited to see. And that seems to be gathering pace. A lot of people are talking about that now. And I actually think that's a rough fight for Triple G. I still think, going off his last few performances, I think he's a sitting duck at middleweight. And I don't know if it's because he's weight drained or whether he's just potentially a shot fighter now, but I don't think he'd get stopped or anything like that. But I think somebody like a Jaime Munguia, I'd be picking Munguia in that, and I think it would be a points win. But I think it'd be a great fight. But it would be a shame to see Triple G, kind of go out like that. I've been a big Triple G fan for many years, but that seems to be gathering pace for maybe March, April time, or maybe even Cinco de Mayo.
Yeah, I think I disagree with you a little bit there. I don't quite call him as shot as you do. Don't get me wrong, he's not where he was. I just don't think he's fallen as far. So don't get me wrong, it is a fight, and we will know if how much he's fallen by it. But I don't know. I still think he'll win that.
Really?
I don't think he's as damaged as you believe he is. And I know he didn't look great in his last fight, but again, I think everyone's coming back looking a bit ropey because they've not fought that much. So I think you've got to. When was his last fight before that one? Triple G. He had been out the ring for a while.
Zaramata, and I think before that he'd fought Derevyanchenko. And some people have actually picked that was very close points win. And Derevyanchenko just got completely schooled by Charlo in his last fight. So I know that styles make fights, but I think that's a kind of a yardstick of where he's at.
Yeah, I don't know. I still think he's got. I think he's got another chapter.
Yeah, well, we'll see. But I'm actually hoping Jaime Munguia, big things for 2021. Another one on like prospects. I've been doing quite a bit of research on prospects. Somebody I'm really excited for 2021 is Edgar Berlanga, who is middleweight. I think he's had 15 or 16 fights and he's knocked everybody out in the first round. And he looks like an absolute monster. I think he's going to be big things for him this year. Somebody else I'm really excited about is Israel Madrimov, who's with Eddie Hearn and DAZN. So he's fighting out of the US. But he's got a very similar style to Lomachenko. He does that kind of, he's a southpaw, but he does that kind of step to the right and has like a looping left hook. So he's kind of like a Lomachenko, but he has like knockout power. And he's somebody I'm really excited for 2021. I'm really hoping that Tony Yoka, now that he's just had his comeback fight against the French heavyweight that Deontay Wilder fought. But I think he's going to be looking to make it. Been a bit disappointed with Tony Yoka as a pro.
Dopa.
Yeah, Johan Dupa, yeah. But yeah, I think in terms of heavyweights, we need a couple of some big prospects to come through. I think Tony Yoka has got to be the closest thing that we'll have to a potential rival to either Fury or AJ or maybe both.
What about I know he's getting on, but Joyce?
Yeah, I think if they're going to fast track him as well, so yeah, I think he's in there. But I think he's only going to have a couple of years left, isn't he?
Yeah, I'm still gutted about Baby Miller because I think he was another one that would have been great for the division. I mean, massive question marks against how good he actually was. Now he's on the juice all the time, and obviously don't condone any of that. And I don't really want to see him back in the sport after doing it so many times. But I'm just a bit gutted because I just thought, loudmouth American, big lad. It's just a bit of a loss for the division that it turned out that way.
But yeah, we are kind of in need of it. I mean, we can come on to AJ and Fury in a bit in terms of where that fight's going to land. But let's say, for argument's sake, Fury beats AJ twice this year. Like, Tyson Fury will probably retire. Like, where's his next, biggest rival? He's beaten Wilder twice, beats AJ twice. Just for argument's sake, it could go obviously the other way. But then who would Fury fight after that? There isn't really anybody emerging.
Sometimes he says he's retiring, then he says he wants to go on forever. You're right. I could see him retiring after that, but I don't know. It depends what happens with White. I think he'd like to give, him and White would be a good fight. Usyk would have to be, it depends what goes on in the background. If them two do fight and Usyk kind of wins a belt in the meantime, and if Usyk, what could happen is, and it's just them two, Joshua and Tyson fight, then they fight again, and then they lose two belts, the WBC, and maybe Wilder and White fight for that. And if White wins that, or wins that, and then Usyk fights Joyce for the WBO, and then the winner of those two becomes unified, you could have an Usyk that's still unbeaten and got two belts. And then I think someone like the winner of Fury and Joshua would have to fight that person.
Yeah.
So I think that's where you could get another big who is the best, because if Usyk has gone and beat a couple of fighters, including, a Wilder and a Dillian White, or you know what I mean. If he's got suddenly some big names under his name, not been beaten at the cruiserweight, and now not been beaten here after heavyweight, I think there's a big enough question there to who is still the best. I mean, I think the winner of Joshua and Fury is going to be the best, but then if Usyk is beating everybody after that, even if it's just on points, there'll be people go, you're going to have to scratch that itch, I'm afraid, before you can retire.
Yeah, potentially, but there's also going to be the the pay factor, because they're going to get what, about 150 million per fight. There's going to be a big drop off in earning potential on the Usyk unification fight, if it is Usyk.
Yeah, I mean, there is, and more for Joshua maybe than Fury is that if Joshua comes through the two beforehand and there's one more belt that's sat with Usyk, I think Joshua would go back for it, just for that undisputed. I mean, I kind of want a big American heavyweight to come through. I mean, okay, I can't say Wilder's done and dusted, but he could well be done and dusted soon, especially if he does fight Fury again and gets beat up. I think I think all the boxing divisions are always more alive, especially the heavyweights, when there's a cocky American on the other side of the pond, and that's why I like Miller. Proper New York attitude and all that. I just think we need. I can't see where one's coming from. I mean, there's a few prospects that I can that are coming through, but no one that you want to you want someone to terrify you and go, Christ, it's just not happening.
We need like a couple of a re-emergence of a Mike Tyson. No, I agree. I don't see where it's coming from. I think Frank Sanchez, a lot of people are talking about him coming through. I don't even know if he speaks English though.
Can I just think they're not. I know they're early on in the career, but you don't look at them and go, bloody hell, they're going to be a threat. You know what I mean? It's like Joshua when he came through. I mean, Fury's a different one. Fury came through, no one probably saw him as a threat, so it does happen. But you want someone like Joshua coming through, just everyone out, and question marks against them. But you're like, wow, look at this. Like the guy you mentioned, that middleweight is just knocking everybody out.
Yeah. We'll see.
But it sounds like in your hometown.
Yeah. So the AJ Fury, there is talk that it could land in Singapore, and I'm going to be stuck in Singapore for another 6 months. So that would pretty much make my 2021 if that fight does land here. I'll be getting as good a tickets as I can possibly get. But let's.
I'll have to come over one last time.
That'd be awesome. But we'll see. I mean, I don't know. I still think it'll land in Saudi, to be honest. But let's see. I'll just take it now. Like if you would say, look, it's going to be, I don't know, in somewhere like Africa or South America, whatever. As long as we can get a good TV network and we can watch it, I'll take it all day. I think other fights. Go on.
There's I mean, it's dry over here at the moment because of the British Border Control's ban boxing for January. They said they may allow it mid-February, but I mean the country is now just on another massive lockdown, and even though sports allowed, for some reason the British Border Control have pulled boxing. I get the feeling with boxing, it's not the safety of spreading it or anything, because I think they did a very good job of all that, the bubbles and all that. I think it's very hard to put on a boxing fight when I think you need, depending how big the card is, but I think you need 4 ICU beds. If you're fighting in London, you need 4 ICU beds at the local hospital before you can go ahead in case anything happens to your boxers. And I just think it's not the right time to be asking that from hospitals. I think that's why boxing's been kicked into touch a bit. So I get it for those reasons. But because there's no certainty, I think Hearn, from videos I've seen, has just gone, we're going to have to move all our stuff to America now, probably, for the first quarter. So I imagine, because there's no certainty and you need to build fights up, we may not have much boxing in the UK until April.
Yeah. Yeah. Which
so that means White Povetkin and Avanesium,
Kelly.
Those fights. Hell yeah.
Yeah.
That had been announced and retracted.
Yeah, well, I think Povetkin and Dillian White, that's happening in February, isn't it?
Well, it's not been announced, but it's looking more likely. I mean, don't know what, he's been calling out Wilder, he's been calling out Ruiz, and, I keep seeing, little things annoy me. It's like I keep seeing things on Sky Sports and BT saying, who do you want so-and-so to fight next? I'm just like, don't want you asking my opinion. Just get something, so just get it booked. Just get it done.
That's when you know it's slow
and White. Yeah, Wilder and White, Ruiz and White ain't going to happen. They've all just lost the last fights. So it's very rare they're going to jump in again, other than with Povetkin because of the rematch clause and all that. I don't think you're going to get Ruiz jumping in with White after he's got beat off AJ ages ago and not even had a warm-up. So it's kind of irrelevant them having these debates, because just go, oh, well, we want to, we need crowds and we need a warm-up fight. And fair enough, but then just don't start pretending you're about to fight.
Yeah.
It ain't going to happen.
Well, to brighten things up, we have had fights that have been announced. So Miguel Berchelt is fighting Oscar Valdes, which I think is actually it's a great 50-50 fight, actually. That's end of Feb. I think it's 20th of Feb. Trevor Bryan is finally going to get his shot against Manuel
This
Charr.
is a quality card, this one.
Yeah, for the regular WBA. And Stiverne versus Chris Lovejoy is on the undercard. Yeah, probably wants a miss.
What happened to who was Charr meant to fight?
I think David
for
Haye
that belt
at one point.
No. It was some other guy. Weird name, begin with an OP or something like that, or OB or OP.
Frezequendo.
Annoying me that. Frezequendo, yeah. So nothing like what I was saying.
I think he's retired now. Frezequendo was doing the rounds in the.
I saw an interview with him.
Really?
I saw an IFL interview with him, probably back end of the summer, and he was like, "Yeah, legal proceedings are still going on and all this stuff." I mean, them two should never be anywhere near the rankings, but I'm glad it's happening just to loosen that belt up. Though I don't really believe in having a second belt anyway, but still,
no.
The only good thing about having that belt is it might attract some fights. So you might get White fighting for it at some point or something like that.
Potentially, but the WBA rankings, they've just updated it, and it's not. I mean, it's really strange. Some of the people that they've got in there. Chris Arreola is number 8 in the WBA. Chris Arreola, who got starched by Deontay Wilder 10 years ago, and he was a shot fighter then. He's number 8. Bogdan Dinu, who got done over by, I think, Kubrat Pulev just recently. I don't get it. I don't get it's a weird ranking system. But anyway.
Well, other things that have just bounced into my mind that I've seen just on Sky Sports, not big news items, but Josh has been talking about retirement, which I always find funny, because boxers seem to retire and then come back, and like people like Conor McGregor do it all the time as well in UFC. So I do think someone like Joshua will retire and stay retired, but why are they talking about it now? Because it doesn't seem to be until he's about 37. So why are they even bothering talking about it? But another thing that was interesting, they said apparently Pulev, who said he's not retiring, which I found I thought he'd take this fight and then just retire. Because I don't know if you remember, at the end of that fight, there was still a lot of arguing going on. Did you see them arguing in the corner afterwards?
It seemed a bit more jovial rather than arguing, though, I thought.
Yeah, it wasn't over intense, but it was a bit. Apparently, Joshua went over to good job on the fight, and Pulev was just remember me, I'll be back, we'll fight again, remember me, and he's just like, I've just beaten you, mate, and you're old, but he's just like, no, remember me, I'll be back. So Pulev thinks he'll fight him again, but the thing is, Pulev's probably good enough to kind of maneuver his way to another number 1 spot still, because if he picks the right fights. With the WBO or something like that, that's got all that horse crap in it.
Look, I mean, Pulev is a good fighter. I mean, if you think about what happened after Povetkin worked his way into a number one, and he was the WBA mandatory, if I remember rightly. Joshua beat him, but it was a tough fight. And then Hearn almost kind of used Povetkin in various other fights against Price. And then I think he fought a couple of other times on matchroom cards.
I think Price was before the Joshua fight.
Yeah, he was used as a bit of a kind of a gatekeeper. And I just wonder if he's going to do something similar to Pulev.
Yeah, the Price fight was before the Joshua fight.
Okay, yeah. But he's kind of affiliated with Matchroom, yeah.
Yeah, he did use him on things. I mean, they fought.
Michael
the guy
Hunter.
that was with Hunter, yeah, and he fought Huey Fury.
Oh yeah, that was it. Yeah, Huey Fury. So I wonder if he'll do something a little bit like that with Pulev, use him as a bit of a gatekeeper for other heavyweights. Maybe put him on a 2 or 3 fight deal, because he's pretty entertaining. I mean, in the press conference, he's crackers, isn't he? But he gets attention.
Well, I think what you've got is, if you've got someone who's just been beaten by Joshua and gave him an okay fight, like went 9 rounds, there's still value in them. You know what I mean? Yeah. Value in them. So you could say 3 fights, and I'll pay you okay money, and you'll get to fight some of my prospects. And if they win, that looks very good for them. If they don't, then you'll end up fighting another big fight, which is what happened to Povetkin, really.
Yeah.
So.
Yeah. So if you think on reflection now, I mean, the Povetkin win and knockout, it's potentially one of AJ's best performances after Klitschko, maybe you'd have to say, in terms of clinical performances.
Yeah, I think the problem is that when you look at Joshua and some of his wins and the people he's beaten people that have just kind of loops back round to him. So a good example would be, he's beat Povetkin. Well, how good's Povetkin? Well, Povetkin's gone and done that against White. Well, how good's White?
Yeah.
Well, White beat Parker. Well, how good's Parker? Well, Joshua beat Parker. And he loops back round to Joshua. You always need someone to penetrate the Ortiz or people like that before you can really, or anyone that Wilder's beaten or struggled with. So if Ruiz went and absolutely did over Wilder, you can say, okay, well, Joshua did that, but then he learned from it. You know what I mean? It's always like Joshua's fought that many people now. They're always looping back to him. And there's not many that have, there's not many results from Joshua that you can go, so that really means he'll beat Wilder.
Yeah.
Because there just have many opponents that you can link together.
Yeah.
But you're right, Povetkin is a good result. Yeah. That's why or if Ortiz got into the mix a little bit with some of the matchroom fighters or people that have fought, like your Povetkins or Pulevs, you could learn a bit more. But I also wonder if that's why Ortiz is kind of, never thrown this way really by PBC, because it's almost like, if he fights someone like Pulev and gets flattened, then it really degrades Wilder. I mean, it's always trying to keep the value in fighters, even if it's someone that they've beaten. Yeah. And you always need to protect them. If they get wiped out by someone, then that doesn't look as good anymore.
Yeah.
Game of chess.
Yeah, exactly.
Any more news?
I think that is about it. A lot of it is just kind of like reviews and people's talking. Like Teofimo Lopez is obviously doing a lot of trash talking, as he usually does. A quick one. Who was your fighter of the year for last year? Lopez. Did you have one? We're going to do an awards, weren't we? And we didn't do it in the end.
I did actually. I mean, I probably said Spence because of what he went through. To go through that, to come back and look that good, he's my fight of the year, I think.
Errol Spence. Okay.
Don't get me wrong, I wouldn't think, but I just think that's a bit special.
Yeah.
But I get the Lopez. I get the Lopez thing. I think Hearns indicated there could be some more announcements next week, so we might have some more actual fights to talk about.
Yeah, fights to talk
Because
about.
even though we're saying we haven't got dates or locations, and until then, you can't really get overexcited.
Yeah. Okay. Yeah, let's do that, and then why don't we do a pound for pound top 10, and then we can maybe do a prediction for the Sergei Kovalev and Bek Melkuziov fight, which I think is going to be quite an interesting fight. That's on the 30th of Jan.
When's that? Mid
30th of Jan. So
where's that in?
2 weeks. It's in Moscow. It's on DAZN. Yeah, so I think it'll be a good fight.
Right, mate.
All right, let's wrap it up. Thank you very much, everybody, for listening and sharing the videos. Please like and subscribe.